Welcome to the Think Small Podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Think Small Podcast. I'm your host, Denise Steinbring, and today we're talking about one of the most complex CEO jobs in America, a job that most people don't even know exists. Imagine you're responsible for 275 city blocks. You have 700 member organizations, real estate developers, law firms, tech companies, nonprofits, museums. You run a $12 million annual street-level operation, 120 employees who are out there 24 hours a day keeping things clean and safe and doing welfare checks on the city's most vulnerable residents. And on top of all of that, you're leading a $14.4 billion urban revitalization project, building a brand new for-profit company and repositioning the entire downtown as America's outdoor downtown. That is one job. And my guest today has been doing all of it for 8 years. Betsy Brennan is the president and CEO of the Downtown San Diego Partnership, the principal nonprofit advocate for the economic prosperity and cultural vitality of downtown San Diego. She was selected from a national search of 400 candidates, named CEO of the Year by the San Diego Business Journal in 2022, and has quietly transformed a traditional membership organization into one of the most operationally sophisticated urban economic development engines in the country. Betsy, it's such a pleasure to have you on the Think Small podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Denise. It's wonderful to be here today.
So tell us a little bit more about the Downtown San Diego Partnership. Is it a chamber of commerce? Is it a growth organization? Help the listeners understand what you do all day.
So the Downtown San Diego Partnership has been around since the 1950s. It was an offshoot of our Chamber of Commerce here in San Diego. And it was really needed to be a focused effort because downtowns were at that time starting to have some stress from the suburbs. So there was some urbanization, suburbanization happening around the country, where the markets and the retail was starting to go into the suburbs, and downtowns were starting to lose population as well as the suburbs started to rise. And so around the country, there was a movement to start these downtown associations. And Downtown San Diego had one of the first ones, and we have been a strong organization ever since. And we do have a large budget at the Downtown San Diego Partnership, and it comes from all different sources, as you mentioned in your prelude. And we are definitely strong and mighty and continue to innovate in the ways that we advocate for downtown San Diego from an economic prosperity standpoint and how we want to be in the future of San Diego.
Well, that's great. Well, I have a personal interest in this story. My daughter goes to San Diego State. Go Aztecs, right? All right. Before we get into what you've built there, though, I wanted to understand the path that got you here. You're a lawyer by training. You were chief of staff during a historic transition in San Diego city government, and then you ran operations at Cal Poly and San Diego State before coming back to downtown. That's not the biography of a typical business CEO. What did that arc teach you that prepared you for a job this complex?
There are a lot of things in my career path that have really led me to this amazing job. Yeah, I have done economic development, higher ed. I have worked in the philanthropy space, running a hospital foundation and working at a community foundation. And yeah, the law and politics and government, all of that very much informs how I can do this kind of work in the economic development and cultural vitality and place leadership space. We have an amazing team at the Downtown Partnership, and we are working on place management and economic development, operations, clean, safe, and a vibrant downtown. And we are not just doing this from an advocacy or from a policy standpoint, but from an operations standpoint. And that is unique, that combination of all of those things happening simultaneously each and every day. And it takes all of those ingredients to make a vibrant downtown and to continue working with government, business, philanthropy, and advocacy on all of those fronts. And that is not something you see in an everyday environment. You might be working with one of those groups, but maybe not all of those groups on a daily basis.
Yeah, really fascinating. And you came into this role with a mandate, right? Economic prosperity and cultural vitality of downtown San Diego. And 8 years later, you've publicly said that more than half of your time is consumed by homelessness. That is a profound organizational pivot. And a lot of nonprofits don't typically survive that kind of mission expansion gracefully. They either lose their business members who feel the organization has drifted, or they lose their social impact credibility by trying to be all things to everyone. So how have you held together a membership base of 700 organizations when the work that actually defines your day looks a lot more like a social services agency?
We went through a very intentional strategic planning effort in 2022 and 2023, just after the pandemic. And at that time, we did a lot of intentional thinking at the Downtown San Diego Partnership. What would really make a downtown for the future? We have all of the ingredients that are very important for a downtown of the future. We have the strong military, we have the weather, we have the geography, we have the diversification of industries from tech to defense to higher ed and life science. We have so many things that many different downtowns would want. We also have the Pacific Rim, binational. We have all of these things, but what is going to differentiate us in the future? So we took a hard look at that, and we came up with 4 pillars where we really wanted to be in the future of the San Diego, but also of California and the United States. And we came up with 4 pillars, and that is really focused on being America's outdoor downtown and being a welcoming and resilient community, seeing the full potential of a clean, safe and vibrant downtown, and guiding and promoting economic prosperity. And to do all of those things well, we did have to address some of our issues around homelessness. In San Diego, we do have the 4th largest homelessness population in the United States, and it would be easy to ignore that. Our board of directors and our businesses decided not to do that. We needed to address that head on. Some policy was around that. We faced it head on, collaboratively with business community, with our residents, with the tourism economy, and with government. We have come up with some solutions. And I did spend about 50% of my time on these issues at the height of working on these policies. But because many of these policies have worked, and we have had our rates of homelessness in downtown San Diego dramatically decrease by more than 50% since 2023, I have been able to work on these policies now. I get to work on creating America's outdoor downtown now with my time. And we care very much. We're compassionate about the residents and care very passionately about the residents of downtown. And that includes our unhoused residents. But I do not have to spend as much of my time now. I have wonderful members of our team that have metrics that they need to meet on these important items, including decreasing homelessness, and they are meeting those metrics. And we work collaboratively with our local government, our state government, and even our federal government to make sure those numbers keep decreasing on homelessness in downtown San Diego. And the data is showing that that is working. We even have dashboards on our website that any member of the public can go and look how those numbers continue to decrease. We want to show confidence to our investors, to our residents, to our tourists that live here, that it is safe, clean, and vibrant to invest in downtown San Diego, to live here, to work here, and to play here.
I love that. And what advice would you have for a CEO of a business in another city who is watching homelessness consume their downtown and wondering whether to lean in or stay in their lane? What can they do?
That's a great question, Denise, and one I grapple with. I grapple with that, and I have for the 8 years I've been in this position. And it's not an easy question. And I've had sleepless nights on that question. But we did decide to lean in after consultation with my board of directors, with our team here, and we have seen demonstrable difference and positive impact in this area. But we can't be all things to all people. So we do have to focus. We do have metrics that we are measuring and programs that we have doubled down on. And it is taking some risks and doing some programs that have never been done before. So not every program is going to maybe be realized into success. So we have a program that we have decided to invest in called Safe Sleeping. So it's an interim step. You get folks that are experiencing homelessness off of your streets, because that's not a place that is safe or clean, or there's not a good place for people to be sleeping on the streets. And it's a safe sleeping site that the city of San Diego provides the funding for, and the state passes through the money from the city to us, and we are running that site. And it is an interim step to stabilize folks until they are put into a more stable situation, like a housing situation. And we weren't sure if it would work or not. It is working, but sometimes you have to take a risk. Mm-hmm. And we did take that risk. And it is realizing success, but not everything is going to, and you have to be able to support your team if they come with an idea like that. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't work, you still have to be able to support the team, but also know when to stop something if it's not working, and try something new. So that is part of leadership. And I've had situations that have not worked, but still have to support the team that came with that idea, because I did decide to go forward with something and then pivot.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your candor and your transparency. These are not easy challenges to solve. And I think sometimes small business owners feel like, well, I've called the police enough times to get, what else can I do? So, maybe they can join their chamber of commerce or run for city council, or, I think business owners' voices need to be heard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have to be able to open your business. Kids have to be able to walk to school. We have to be able to use our sidewalks for what they're intended for.
Right. Well, the things that you are focusing on are surely paying off, right? You've grown your membership base by 40% over 8 years, and you've specifically targeted some non-traditional players, nonprofits, museums, and cultural organizations. Why was that a deliberate expansion of the membership definition so important to that strategy?
That's a good question. And you did mention our mission, and I'm glad you did, because if you didn't and I didn't, then my team would definitely have something to say about that. But when I arrived 8 years ago, our mission was economic development, and it didn't actually have that second clause about cultural vitality. So the first year I was here, we did work with our board of directors to add that cultural vitality piece, because for me, it's a holistic picture. You can't really have the economic development without the cultural vitality, and vice versa. So when we get everyone around the table, you're going to have such a richer downtown, and I mean that in every sense of the word. If you are looking at economic development from a cultural lens. So when we added all the voices that make a downtown special and unique and have people linger and want to know what's around the corner, you want the arts and culture and all of those kind of things around here. We have so much of that in downtown, from our symphony to our museums and all of our different areas like theaters, that their voices weren't necessary. We all appreciated them, but their voices weren't necessarily part of the decision-making process at the Downtown San Diego Partnership. And when we intentionally started inviting them into the discussions, our decision-making process became so much more robust. So we wanted all of those voices around the table. When we market downtown, we market everything from our large park called Balboa Park to our Port of San Diego to our airport. And when we added those voices into the decision-making process, it became such a better conversation, and the outcomes became just so much more a tapestry of everything San Diego has to offer. So I'm so pleased that they were able to participate and be part of our strategic planning efforts, and everywhere that San Diego is going to be going in the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. So here's something that was really intriguing to me. You launched the Urban Strategy Services, a for-profit company that commercializes the clean and safe model, and you're getting inbound calls from San Francisco, Los Angeles, East Coast cities asking how to replicate what you've built in San Diego. That's not a nonprofit success anymore. That's a scalable business. What does it actually take to go from being the best urban services operator in your city to being a company that can sell that expertise nationally? And where are you in that journey?
Yes, Urban Strategy Services was something we do really wonderfully is our clean and safe program. So enhanced maintenance, safety, activation, landscaping, all of those kind of things over and above the baseline services that the city of San Diego provides. And that's what our assessment that our ratepayers, our property owners downtown pay that extra assessment to provide in downtown San Diego in those 275 blocks you were talking about. And we do that so well. Our teams are amazing. Our operation teams we were talking about. We have some of our team members that have been on this team for over 20 years. Wow. We've been doing these services for 25 years in downtown San Diego. We're on year 26. Wow. So we thought about this is a service, a business that we are just excellent at, our team. And what could we do to do this for other people? So we started offering this service to other areas. And for my board of directors, why did they see this as a good thing? Well, we explained that we would take the proceeds from this business and invest it in downtown for all of those things that we would love to do, but we just never have the funds to do. Those beautification projects like trees, the tree baskets, and those little touches, the banners that are just so beautiful, or celebrate maybe Women's Month or a cultural month that the touches that are just so important when you're walking around a beautiful city. And so we started pitching that in a higher education that you may have already mentioned, a university wanted to try it out, and we actually became the contractor of the year for that university because our services are so excellent. And then word of mouth, just referrals, we started to get other entities that were interested in this because we can do complex public quasi-public space management. So we don't want to take business away from maintenance businesses that already exist or public safety kind of businesses that already exist. We want to do very large, complex space management. And there's not a lot of companies already in that space nationally that do this kind of thing, or even in Southern California for that matter. So yeah, we've had visits from different large companies and large property owners and other cities. And we also love to share best practices. We have some national organizations we belong to, such as the International Downtown Association. I'm on the board of directors for that association. I'm also I'm an officer for their foundation board. And we love to share this kind of best practices around the country. And I always recommend for CEOs or business owners to try to get into some sort of association to, learn best practices from people maybe that are in similar roles as yours.
Yeah. And it makes me think because, the marketing that you do for the Downtown San Diego Partnership is going to be very different than the commercial engine, for selling this expertise that you have, right? So for any founder that's listening who has a proprietary process or a methodology or a service model that others keep asking to replicate, what's the hardest part of that transition from, we're really good at this to this is a product we can sell?
For us, we've never had to market it before. We've been doing it for 25 years, and we've had to communicate it to those 15,000 property owners in downtown San Diego. But we're so used to communicating with those 15,000 parcel owners, and they know what we do, and we know how to communicate with those people. But trying to explain that to someone that's not in San Diego has been a whole new world that we're not used to. We've never had to have business. We've never had to market it. We're a nonprofit.
Right.
And so going from a nonprofit to a business model is something that is a different kind of thing for many of us, because a lot of our team have come from being maybe attorneys or working for the government at some point in their career. And for them to go to a for-profit model has been a new experience for many of them.
Yeah. So what's the thing that you're wrangling with right now?
Well, something that we wrangle with, and I think probably many business owners wrangle with, is entitlements or working through a government process for an approval. That is not something that that is foreign to us here at the Downtown San Diego Partnership, because we do have public-private partnerships. Sometimes we have some novel things that we have done at the partnership, and we are very proud of those. We do have other ways to realize revenue. We work with some very amazing cutting edge businesses here in San Diego, and we are very proud of that work. But the speed at which private business works, and then the speed in which regulation is changed, either at the local level or at the state level, does not always match.
Right.
And so trying to get the regulations to mirror what is actually happening, whether that's AI or technology or defense tech, it can be a very frustrating process, because a business is ready to go and they're ready to monetize their technology, and that's not always matching where policy is. And so we deal with those very same issues here at the Downtown San Diego Partnership.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So I love the America's Outdoor Downtown branding. That's a really powerful brand position for a city with San Diego's assets. But a brand only creates economic value if it actually drives investment decisions, right? Membership growth, developer confidence, etc. And so you're in the middle of co-leading this $14.4 billion Civic Center revitalization project. You're trying to attract the next wave of tech companies and talent, and you're competing against cities across the Sun Belt for business relocation decisions. How do you measure whether the brand is actually doing that work, and what would it look like if it were working harder for you than it is today?
That's a really great question. And we just last week, there was a site selectors conference for the US, and there were investment and site selector from all over the world here to site select where companies are going to be sited. And we did work as a region to figure out how we could maybe bolster that or bolt on some special tours for San Diego. So that was pretty exciting. We had not done that as a region before. So in addition to the US site selector panel, then we had some countries in some specific industries then come and do some special tours of San Diego, whether, we have the number one amount of defense installations here in this region. So we were betting on defense tech as sort of the next place to have sites for those kind of industries here. And then just last week we had a delegation from Seattle visit us to see what we were doing here in San Diego. And then just this morning, we had a press conference with our mayor and our biggest private philanthropy foundation and our community college district to announce an MOU to work on this very site. We are going to the next phase of the project to actually take one of the buildings down and start the project. So it is in motion, and we are moving forward. So we are not letting things stop us, and we are in forward motion on that project because we want to show confidence that this project is happening. We have government, business, and philanthropy, and all of the nonprofits ready to go and supportive of this effort.
That's great. Congratulations. You told me when we talked earlier that downtown San Diego's residents tend to stay 5 or more years. So that's remarkable stickiness for an urban core. What does that signal to a business owner or a developer who's evaluating the market?
We do this demographic study every other year. It's very important to have that kind of data. We know that 50% of downtown residents have dogs. All of these kind of data points are very important to have for people that are going to be investing in downtown and to have the confidence to invest, whether they're qualitative and quantitative. We need both of those kind of data points. So for that, it's showing that people love to be in downtown and that they are sticking with their residences. They're happy. The top three reasons they do stay in downtown are the cultural amenities, the walkability, and the high quality restaurants and entertainment. So all of those things are showing that it's a community. We have seven distinct neighborhoods in downtown, and we are doubling down on creating even more distinction between those seven neighborhoods so that if you come and you say, well, I want to be in the neighborhood that is the most culturally aware from a theater standpoint, we can guide you right to that neighborhood. Or I want to be in the neighborhood that's the most sports centric, we can get you right to that neighborhood. So the more, or which is the most foodie neighborhood. So we want you to feel that confidence and that excitement to get you right where you need to be as an investor, and where the most family office is located, or where the most startups. We have all of that information right at our fingertips, and we want to get you that information. We are also very data heavy as far as where each neighborhood is. We can give you real-time data on what neighborhood has the most walkability, which hour of the day. We have all of that data, and we want to share it with people that are thinking about investing in downtown San Diego, and we want to share it with our members. That's a very important part and why people might join the downtown partnership that are already here or thinking about investing in downtown. We want you to be a member. We want you to feel welcome, and we want you to feel part of a community.
Yeah, and you guys are getting one of the FIFA Cup locations as well, aren't you?
We're getting it's called a pre-friendly game.
Oh, okay.
We're getting two friendlies. We're getting two friendlies. We're also getting Olympic games. So it's the LA Olympics in 2028, but several of the sports are being played right here in San Diego. We are getting surfing here in San Diego, and we are getting soccer.
Fun. Yeah.
And maybe even more, but those are the two that are confirmed.
Yeah. I think your point is a really good one. Having data by which you can make decisions is a critically important thing for small business owners, right? It helps you understand who your customers are, what their motivations are, right? All of the things that you mentioned to really understand what is the market that you're playing in, right? What are the segments that you can go after? What are the more profitable segments that you can go after? Having that data visibility is so critically important, especially for small businesses.
It really is. And in San Diego, our mix of businesses does skew more towards small business than the national average. More than 93% of our businesses are small businesses in San Diego, which is more than the national average. So it's very important here in San Diego to have that data, because a small business might not have as much access to that data as a large business might. So we just feel it's incumbent on us to have that information available to all of our businesses and all of our residences. And we're also very collaborative. We work closely with our biotech trade associations and our tech, our higher education, our chambers, everyone, because we want to be very collaborative and try as hard as possible to get as many high quality businesses and residents to move here to San Diego. Also, our higher education collaboratives are top notch. We have so many wonderful higher education institutions here in San Diego, and we celebrate that. We also have a very vibrant binational region. We are very close to Mexico here in San Diego, and that's something we celebrate, because many times you might have a headquarters or a big part of your business here in downtown San Diego, but you might have your manufacturing right across the border in the Tijuana region, and that's a unique attribute we have in San Diego as well.
Yeah, I think that's another great tidbit. The nearshoring opportunity for small businesses right over the border is critical, right? We see a lot of people leaving China, leaving places that are farther away, but that's a really great opportunity if you're in that Southern California area. Well, Last question, Betsy. You've managed a $12 million operation, a 700-member advocacy organization, a for-profit spinoff, and a $14.4 billion civic development project simultaneously for 8 years in one of the most politically complex cities in America. For a founder or CEO who is in the middle of building something right now and feeling like the headwinds are too strong to make meaningful progress, what would you tell them?
Well, I mean, you can do many hard things all at the same time. So even here in San Diego, the political headwinds always have some sort of crisis going on. It could be a pandemic. It could be a budget crisis. It could be a political crisis. But your business still needs to go on and needs to thrive. All of those things are always going to be happening. And your business needs to be focused, needs to stick to your strategic plan, and needs to go on. You may need to pivot. That happens. That happens all the time. And that happens here in San Diego. It's happened at least 3 or 4 times in the 8 years I've been in this role. And in fact, our budget was 14 million. It's now 25 million a year. So yeah, we need to update our records. And by the way, I was just named CEO of the year again for 2026. So we need to update my bio. But I just say that to say that things will continue to happen in your personal life, in your business life. But if you can stay focused and you build an amazing team around you in both your personal life and your professional life, you can continue to stay focused, continue to see your North Star, continue to live your values, continue to keep your mission at your center, and thrive.
Well,
and that's what we try to do here.
Yeah, you're clearly a very inspirational leader. I love that we got to have this conversation. For our listeners who want to learn more about the Downtown San Diego Partnership, because you've offered some amazing resources in terms of just a lot of the data, right? Or to explore membership, where should they go?
Our website is downtownsandiego.org. And I'm always happy to speak to groups. And we have a wonderful bench here at the Downtown San Diego Partnership. And I truly mean that. I hire people smarter than I am. And sometimes they leave to go do greater things. And it hurts that day. But I always encourage them to follow their passions. And so there are people that are Downtown San Diego Partnership people all over the country doing amazing things. And I'm really proud to have been a part of their story.
That's great. And to our Think Small listeners, if today's conversation made you think differently about the role your community plays in your business, or about what it looks like to build something that goes from being the best in your city to a model for the rest of the country, share it with someone who needs to hear it. This podcast will be dropping in about 4 weeks. We'll see you next time. And thanks so much, Betsy, for your time.
Thank you, Denise. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the Think Small Podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?